Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Members are present. Any conflicts of interest declared for tonight? Treasurer's warrant. Motion on that?
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Couple of minutes from our last meeting on October 27th.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, any corrections, discussion? Good job. All right. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, quick claim deed, Board of Assessors, officers, wastewater abatement.
Yeah, I can, well, I'll move to approve the wastewater abatements and then we can.
We need a second.
All right, we're gonna be the second. Okay, discussion. Cindy, you want to recap on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say we reviewed all of these at our admin meeting last week and, everything's in, relationship to water that did not go into the sewage system, so feel confident in recommending them for approval.
I will say that we have a fairly new process where the homeowner takes a digital picture of their water meter as proof of what happened, like if they're gonna get their pool filled or something like that. So we actually do have some documentation from them other than just as has been, just for logic and word.
So could I ask the 60-70% of them are outdoor meters, so it's the issues with the meter or the something's going wrong? No.
So basically, a homeowner, if they're using water, it's my understanding, if they're using water for for like gardening or filling their pool,
Right.
they're
Doesn't go
basically
into
asking for an abatement, so they get credit for that water not going to the wastewater.
Yep.
The meters are different.
Right.
That's it, yeah.
Correct. And it's optional for any homeowner to get purchased for $75 or something like that. The meter is kind of the tracking, and so it looks like some people are just being reminded that they need to document with a picture before and a picture after.
Okay, we have this in a second. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, real estate abatements. Motion?
Yeah, move to approve the real estate abatement for 1726 Dexter Road.
Second?
Discussion on this was a paperwork mistake on our part, and so it's just a correction and resetting of where things should be. Okay, all in favor? Thank you.
And I'll move to approve the real estate abatement for, the Burrows Road.
Second as well?
Okay, and this is similar. This was a typographical error and has been corrected. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, open session. We have no public hearings. So open session for the public. Yes, sir.
That's me.
Yep. Just introduce yourself and
Thank you. I'm Randy Swallow. I'm a homeowner, lives just up the street a little bit. And I had originally planned on making my case to dissolve the Water District Board of Trustees and put in control of the water district in the hands of you selectmen. I'm afraid of, I'm over-prepared. And so I think we're here today for to get some direction about where to proceed. I get a lot of documentation here to prove that the water board, as I'll refer to them as, does not have the town's best interest at heart. And in fact, they have cost the town money. They have broken numerous laws. They're in violation of the town charter. And it goes on and on from there. So, like I said, I've got a lot of documentation. I've even got pictures of everything that's gone on. And I'm afraid there's going to be time constraints because I've got quite a bit to say, like I said, and this is going to take a number of more time than I'm afraid you can allocate here tonight. So I'm looking for a general guide about where to proceed from here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have no idea what authority we have to even call for that.
Well, see, the deal is any problems with the water district have to go through the water board. But what do you do when the problem is with the water board? They're untouchable. And they're making up their own laws. I've got documentation of that. They're breaking laws that are in existence. In particular, with my situation, is I have a large lot just up the road, and it's always been my family plan that when my parents got to the age where they need assistance living independently, they were going to build a home next door to me. The town came in and without any acknowledgement to me, no information whatsoever, they just dynamited part of my property, which is a paved driveway, and put a fire hydrant where my folks' driveway was going to be in front of their garage. Long story short, they came up with a agreement, which I found out through an attorney is not a legal agreement, setting a 10-year time limit for my folks to put a house on my lot. In essence, they were giving my folks 10 years that they could live in their home, which again was a violation of the law. They can't do that. So, long story short, time limit started getting close to the end, 10-year time limit. And had problems with the superintendent of the water district. And I ended up telling him that, okay, fine, my folks' house is going to go up for sale that day, and that I need to have that hydrant moved out of the way as soon as possible. Didn't do it. They claimed I never notified them. We even offered to pay 100% to have the hydrant moved out of the way. They wouldn't do that. My folks sold their house to the very first offer, took a beating on it. They had to be out of their home all of a sudden. The hydrant is still there. They had a nice ranch home, 3-bedroom ranch in Quebec with a 2-bay garage, 2 stories. They could take it on it because they had to get out within their 10-year time limit. So the hydrant's still there. My folks are forced out of their house. And the current situation is my mother is living alone in an apartment in Dexter. And my father's in the nursing home, broken hip, and rapidly advancing dementia. So my mother now has lost their home. Most of their lifetime accumulation of possessions had to go to an auction in some barn somewhere in some rutted out road where most of their belongings, a 3-bedroom home full of Hayward Wakefield furniture went for pennies. They lost tens of thousands of dollars. And the water board still won't do anything to help. So now my only family that I've got now is my mother living in Dexter. Same thing with me. I'm her only family as well. And see now perfect example why I wanted them next door to me is fairly recently, she fractured her back, her spine, trying to lift a case of water into their apartment, small apartment. So she's gone from a nice 3-bedroom ranch in Quebec, like I've told you, to an apartment in Dexter. So she's not even near me. So in order for me to take her to a doctor's appointment, I've got to go all the way to Dexter now and pick her up that small apartment and take her wherever she needs to go, then return again. So That essentially is it. They, like I said, that hydrant's still there. They refused to move it even after we said we pick up 100% of the cost. And, I don't know what their reasons are, except I can only figure that's just to flex their muscles. Can't imagine any other reason why they would ever do something like that. But that's the situation. And, so that's why I figure now is time to dissolve that water board because they are doing damage to the town. And, like I said, I've got all this here, but I'm afraid it's time constraints involved.
Yeah.
And I said, I've used a few minutes of your time now and, trying to figure out where we should go from here.
So I think probably the best thing to do is run it by Alcina first. I mean, this is, you can understand, this is a unique situation.
It is.
It doesn't happen every day, so
How many of you people, without any notice, would find them coming onto your home and dynamiting a paved driveway and sticking a fire hydrant in the middle of it without any advance notice whatsoever? They're required by law to give me a notice of their intent. They didn't do that. They're also required to get the location approved by the fire chief. They didn't do that. They're supposed to compensate me for the loss of my property. They never did that. And they're supposed to go through the eminent domain process. They never did that either. They just surprise, bang, there's your fire hydrant. It's our land now. And it's, by the way, they've also cost the town a lot of money, just for me personally, because I am the only heir in 3 generations of my family. And I don't have any heirs of my own. And I had fully intended to will my entire estate to the town. But you, I won't.
okay. Probably the best thing, Alcina, best thing is to meet with you
And I just take a second. I had the opportunity to meet a new town manager the other day. And I just want to thank her very much for taking time out of her day to talk with me and to basically let me vent. Because after a couple of things happened, I was pretty hot under the collar, and I thank you very much for your attention.
All right, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. So you can set up something with Alcina
Okay,
and, then take it from there.
when would be a good time to come see you?
Are you planning to stick around for the whole meeting or no?
Not enough. I don't have to. It's past my time.
If you want to write your phone down.
Okay,
I'll
okay.
write my phone.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Okay. Eric.
There we go.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. Yeah,
Sorry.
of course. Thank you.
Okay.
Robert Lazusi, Dover-Foxcroft. Emery said one time to me, it bothered you that nobody answered any of my questions or even responded to me. It is disturbing. I've emailed everybody with the exception of these people here about my concerns. So where is the Pinecrest Development Corporation's office here?
There isn't one.
Well, it says it on our town website.
Mailing. A mailing.
The address is 48 Morton Avenue, Suite A.
Mhm.
Right?
So mailing.
So when the mail comes,
Mhm.
what happens? We have town employees dealing with a private non-government organization's issues, handling their mail and responding to it, right? Correct?
Just taking the physical envelope.
Any work that's being done involving the Pinecrest Development Corporation in 48 Morton Avenue, Suite A, is a misappropriation of town funds. It appears that town taxpayers at Dover-Foxcroft are paying for the legal representation of a non-government organization. We've got transfers of town assets from officials of the town of Dover-Foxcroft conveying town assets to a non-government organization who uses the town office's mailing address to conduct business. I question if that's legal. I question if it's legal for the town to give town assets to members of the community 14 days after receiving it. We received the Moosehead Building property on May 18th. On June 4th, we conveyed town assets to Jonathan Seavey. Then we conveyed town assets to, what's her name, Karen A. Huber of Eaton and Peabody, right? And then Karen A. Huber conveyed the town's assets to the board members of the selectmen who are acting as non-government officials. I believe that that's illegal under 30 AMRSA 2605. I've explained this. I think I've provided it to you as board members. I hear nothing in return to my concerns. Drummond and Woodsum acted as attorneys for the town in some of these transactions. They've now withdrawn from representation, one of the attorneys in this matter before the board. It appears to be a conflict of interest for that to be going on. And Eaton and Peabody, whose major shareholder is a Timothy Woodcock. We all know who Timothy Woodcock is, right? That's Judge Jonathan Woodcock's brother's firm, which appears to be another conflict of interest that's going on here involving this board and the attorneys that are being paid for as private representatives of a non-government organization using taxpayer funds, which is illegal under 2605. You said to me months ago, when I brought this matter to the board's attention, that Karen Huber, you can't find her. You said the attorney at Eaton and Peabody, but Mr. Pottle was here at that meeting. I have it recorded. You said you would you didn't know what happened, and what's your position?
I said that this stuff happened 10 years ago and I don't remember the details.
What is your position at the Pinecrest Development
I
Corporation?
am also the president.
You're the president of Pinecrest.
Yeah.
And I've requested where your office, your organization is using the town taxpayers' funds to operate your private non-government organization. I've asked for the amount of money that was paid to the board members of Pinecrest through grant funds. There was $25 million in grant funds accessed, according to state and federal records, that the Pinecrest Development Corporation accessed, where I've been told people were paid as advisors and board members. I'm being denied any payments. You've never been paid? Is that what you're?
I've never earned a penny off of it.
Okay, well, what was the benefit in doing this is my question. We already, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
I'm on limited time. You already had, as a board, the responsibility of the economic development of the town of Dover-Foxcroft as elected and appointed officials of this town. Why did you create a non-government entity to access grant funding where no accountability is publicly?
So, first of all, why would I volunteer my time and do something without getting paid? Because I want to help the town.
You already had the responsibility and duty as your position as an elected
I
official,
wasn't an elected official at the time.
but you are now.
Yes, but we have nothing to do with the.
So how was it possible for people who are not elected officials to create a non-government organization to use the town's assets for their own interests?
It wasn't. So, first of all, Pinecrest was chartered back in 2002. So a
Let me
long time
interrupt.
ago.
Jack Kluge was a board member there.
It doesn't,
Jack Kluge was a board member. Elwood Edgley, who we all know was paid millions of dollars in biweekly grant fund payments from Jack Kluge.
so I'm gonna stop you there. This is, you're going into the weeds of things which are not accurate, not factually correct.
Was Elwood Edgley, I was provided with documents from this office that established that Elwood Edgley was paid millions of dollars over 20 years. Joyce Perry is going to testify in this matter because she petitioned the town board and the state government over the same matter.
All I can say is that the overall arrangement, and this was done in public, was done in meetings. The building, what used to be Moosehead Manufacturing, was dumped into our laps as a tax acquired property.
Let's hold on right
Hang
there.
on, let me finish.
Okay,
It was dumped into our laps. It
it
yes,
wasn't dumped in our laps. Let me interject because of my brain function and the way I do things,
Okay.
my way my brain works. Jack Kluge on May 18th took possession of a foreclosed property.
yes.
Right. That wasn't dumped in our lap. We didn't have to do that. We had no responsibility to take that property with the environmental issues that were at hand. We had no responsibility. But what we did have a responsibility of was the dam. We had deadlines and serious fines if we weren't addressing the issues with the dam. That went ignored, and Pinecrest went in full bore to the Moosehead building and created this appearance that it was being done as the elected officials of this town, when in fact it was being done as a non-government organization.
So again, when there's tax foreclosure, property is dumped on our shoulders. That's the way it works. We had a responsibility to take care of an environmentally damaged property. I remember at the time, the estimate was it was going to cost the taxpayers $1 million to clean it up.
We took the property accepting this liability, right? So that accepting the property, we didn't have to accept it. There was no legal bounds for this town to accept that property in foreclosure. We made the decision as the government to take it off Mr. Wentworth's hands. He was responsible for the environmental issues.
Thing.
Point of information, we're going on over 8 minutes on
Yeah.
this topic.
So,
I timed the gentleman that spoke before me.
but we've heard this 100 times before, Bob. We have not heard that other gentleman's request.
Where have we heard this?
You have come before us.
Today is the first day I brought this information to this board. Now, the second part of my issue, my grievance, my petitioning of the town. Are you familiar with the town's retaliation policy? I'll read it. Any form of retaliatory action or threat against or suggestion of retaliation by either employees or supervisors against any person filing a complaint under this policy or assisting in an investigation are both illegal and a violation of state and agency policies. A complainant is protected of retaliation regardless of the merits of the original complaint. Retaliation should be reported and described above and will promptly be investigated. Such retaliatory conduct will be grounds for disciplinary actions. I filed a Maine human rights complaint, as you all know, because I was threatened and provoked and harassed to the point that I had to get a protection order. Members of this board sat there knowing this was going on and did nothing to stop it. Matt Grant has testified under oath that he knew and that he withheld his knowledge from the court. He advised the person that preceded him in his office of this. The same person, 5 days, 6 days after receiving the Maine human rights complaint, went with the defendant in the investigation and conducted and sought criminal charges against me when they knew everything was a lie. And I provided this board with this policy and a complaint asking for the grievance process in this matter, but I've heard nothing.
You were told many times that the grievance process is to file. And this happened many times. You brought this up, was to file.
You're saying this happened many times. I'm FOIA requesting the dates.
You requested to know the process for.
Was it
discipline.
provided to me?
It was.
Where?
You said you had, the charter says that there's a recall process. I was sitting.
That's not the only process. This process right here, you have a recall process. The
That is
board
a
has a
recall process.
responsibility to discipline employees.
A select board member is not an employee.
And, well, according to the court and what has been testified to in court, an elected, this town office I was banned from because of a false statement by an elected official who claimed that this was his place of employment. Am I right, Chief Burns? This was his place of employment. This is why you were attempting to charge me with crimes.
I never attended.
You submitted and entered into an investigation and attempted to charge me with crimes, claiming that this was Hutchins' place of employment on court records under oath.
I have to stop you. You took this to court. The court dismissed your case.
No, he didn't. You're mistaken. You really ought to look up the information on the case.
Well,
It's
then-
active
then
and
this is.
that has nothing to do with one or the other. The problem is the policy violation. Seth Burns entered into an investigation once the main human rights complaint was filed in violation of state laws and agency policies, has a separate issue to the complaint. It's a completely separate issue. You have a responsibility, and Alcina doesn't respond to my FOIA requests for information. I've heard nothing. I've made multiple FOIA requests. My FOIA requests are not being fulfilled. So now what's the grievance process on that? Can I recall? What's the process? The other question, we have properties around town, $81 a square foot. We got West Main Street residents with a house that's 4,100 square feet that's paying $81 a square foot with 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. I live out in Merrill's Mills. My house isn't the size of this room. It's an open concept room. There is no bathroom. And I'm paying $101 a square foot. I'm paying double what everybody else is paying in town on acreage. That's not retaliation?
No. So I'm gonna stop you there. We're way over time. You presented now 3 separate issues.
I try to do this by sending an email and a correspondence so we can do this out of the meeting so it's
We-
not taking
We
up
do
time,
not-
but nobody responds.
As a policy, we do not conduct business outside of this area, outside of the select board.
So when you're out of this meeting and issues like the gentleman that just spoke before me, you don't do anything about because it's outside of this meeting?
It is against our policy, but in large part against state policy for us to collude outside of the public's view.
An email is a public record. That's not outside of public view. And responding to an email in a FOIA request doesn't even come close to meeting what you're claiming.
No one of us can speak for the board. We're all individuals.
Well, apparently, court testimony says otherwise.
I'm gonna stop you there. You've said what you came to say.
I want to know what the grievance process is when a town employee violates state policy, department policies, and laws.
What we need to see from you, the
A
coherent claim.
what was that email? I mean, Alcina, was that not a very detailed, coherent complaint that I gave you? You asked me what happened, right? Right, so I need a little time to think and go over information and evidence.
You need to do that on your own without emailing it. Have one document, only one, that spells it out.
Will you show me a policy where it says that?
If we can't make heads or tails of.
Compile the emails, read the emails. They're very well written. I don't think anybody here would deny that saw the emails and the reports. I write additionally to each one intentionally.
So.
It seems like you're, instead of being interested in doing the right thing, It's like you're trying to steer away from any liability or responsibility. That's what it looks like.
All right. Anybody else? Open session? Okay, gonna close open session. Open session for the board.
Just a reminder that after an election, could we post the results on the website so that the general public knows? And I think Julie did follow up a couple days later, but a lot of times people want to know either that next day, that sort of thing. But I appreciate the effort that this election, the staff has done for the election. I'll keep going if no one else has anything. Again, tonight, there was a conflict with the county budget meeting. So again, I hope that folks are informed and share their concerns regarding what they are proposing to do to many line item budgets. Also, I will say that, again, we take the position that we don't talk in public about legal issues. And then lastly, I'll just say that our town has many partnerships with many organizations. And partnerships are a good thing.
Yes. Cindy?
This is just a question out of curiosity as to why the flags are still at half mast. Because I knew they were for Dick Cheney's death, but why are they still at half mast? I tried to find it online today.
It's supposed to be 1 week.
Yeah, I know. They weren't putting the flags down until he was buried, and he has a service on the 20th.
Thank you, Nancy.
There it is.
So originally the date was supposed to be until the 15th, but I think it got.
Thank you.
Okay, got our answer.
That's
And
really.
and Nancy is a credible source.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna say that.
Our little civics lesson for today.
Anybody else? I'll just say the quick thing. Obviously, winter is here. I've seen sand on the roads now for the first time. Yay. That's pretty much my only statement on that. All right. Anything else for open session? Okay, we'll close open session for the board. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? One, unless you update the agenda at the last minute for the,
Yeah,
I haven't read ahead.
you'll have to adjust it for yeah, because I know you guys are not gonna approve it. I think.
Oh, E. Okay, so the adjustment that I'm going to request for the agenda is item E. We were advised that we should have a public hearing on the code of ethics adoption process instead of passing it tonight. So what I would like to do is just leave E open and we can have a discussion about it, but no actual vote on the ethics committee. But a vote to set a date for a hearing. Any other discussion? Okay. All right, committee report, finance committee. Okay, we did meet, we went over some stuff. I'm gonna open it up to either Joe or Cindy to make comments. Bruce?
Well, with our first meeting of our new committee, and I think we all agreed that our minimal requirement of our committee is to hear updates and trends on a quarterly basis regarding the town's budget. So we went over that. We had great conversation, I thought, about more, trying to gain more understanding. And we also talked a bit about the county budget and feeling like we have very little input into what the county chooses to do. We used to be more engaged with suggesting members of the board who would serve on the county budget committee so that we were more involved with that. And that led us to conversation about setting up a meeting with our commissioner, who's, Andy, and Tracy's working on that. So it felt to me like, a really productive meeting. And, you know, when you've established a new committee like that we never had before, it felt like, oh, we really need this committee. That's how it felt to me. So,
Yeah, it felt pretty good to go line by line through everything. And we had a list of things we discussed on, if we thought it, does that look right? Are we paying for that? Is that how much we're paying for it? It's a good starting point of making sure that we're asking the right questions to know that our money's going to the right place, but also ensuring that if we see something that looks like it's way too much money, there's a process for us to go back and say, well, maybe we should look at a different vendor for an RFP, something like that. So, yeah, it went really, really well.
Excellent.
And I
Yep.
have taken some of your concerns and Joel's, brought them together. I'm gonna get that email out to Andy and see if he won't get back to us. I'd love to have him sit in front of us. I don't know if I can make that happen, but I'm gonna try.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So where do we maybe see the finance committee intertwined with budget advisory, or will that become part of that, or have you discussed?
We did discuss it. Really, I don't want to call us the prep team for budget, but that's what it feels like. We're trying to
Yeah.
make sure that we've really gone through everything at each meeting so that when it comes time to hand them the stuff, we have a good solid foundation to discuss it with them. So if they have questions, we don't have too much like we have to go research it. Like we can answer a lot of questions and be really efficient at helping them move forward with it and have really good conversation with them in the process, because people have said before, sometimes they feel like the budget, meetings, you're kind of just raising your hand, but last year wasn't like that. We spent a very long time going through line items, trying to get the money down where we felt it was the best it could be. And I think this is gonna help tremendously with us ramping up to that, because we will have already analyzed a lot of things that people will probably have questions on. We'll have an immediate answer this time.
and I would just add, in no way does this committee replace the budget advisory.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Because it's really critical to have,
It's a matter of Tracy.
Nope, 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 nope. That still exists. It's still gonna be
Rather
there.
than that, you have input from people who aren't engaged in the way we are.
We'll
So,
be a resource to them.
Excellent. Thank you all for your work on the brand new committee. Okay, we have,
I just add what,
Yep.
it's really nice to have that time with Emily and Alcina. Emily, they're really people who know what they're doing. And so, having not worked directly in that way with Emily was really good to do that.
okay, great. Then we'll move on to Climate Action Advisory Committee. Anybody present for that? Right. Well, just so the public knows, this is a committee outside of us. We are sometimes on it or made aware of issues as they come up. So I guess we don't have anything on that one. Admin Committee.
The admin committee's been wicked, those of us, right, all these committees are. So primarily, we've been working on, the abatements that were before you. The town manager's 6-month evaluation that will be coming to everybody for some input on Alcina's, 6-month performance. We've also reassessed the job description for the assistant town manager and really dug into that with Alcina. And the code of ethics and code of conduct have been a primary focus of the committee as well. And you've all seen that, you've seen the updates, and now we know through Jonathan's input that we really need to have a public hearing on that. So that'll come forward in December.
Any questions? get on to Public Works.
Public Works met last week. Again, the biggest discussion was the transfer station. We've heard a lot of complaints that it's taking a long time for people to get through the transfer station. Pay the fees, get rid of whatever they need to get rid of. So that was kind of a primary discussion for us. We discussed 3 or 4 different traffic patterns that we could potentially try. And then decided that the easiest way to speed it up would be to have 2 check stations so that we have 2 lanes coming in and basically cut the time in half that people are waiting in line. So I found really good deal on a shed on Facebook, a pre-built shed that was built in 2025. I believe that is being delivered tomorrow. It is going to be set up opposite the recycling window so that both lanes coming in will now have a checkpoint on the way in instead of everybody trying to funnel through a single checkpoint. So we're hoping that's going to speed things up significantly. We also discussed possibly opening a second free dump day so that we could potentially have 1 in the spring, 1 in the fall. We discussed that we want to visit cleanup due to a severe unexpected storm. There's a lot of brush that comes down, and maybe that's not something that we want to be charging people per load to drop off when we have a significant amount of brush that's down for that reason. We're going to be meeting with Ken and Alcina out at the transfer station on the 20th to kind of do a walkthrough and kind of get some ideas of how we might be able to reconfigure where things are dropped off to speed things up even a little bit more. We talked about Shore Road South. It sounds like the ditches have been filled back in there. At this point, the town really doesn't have anything we need to do over there. That's a private road that we only have an easement for winter maintenance over basically. Route 15, Route 7 intersection, the state is well aware of the issues with the lights there. And we're basically at their mercy as far as getting somebody here to fix them. It's not something we can do. We talked about the West Main street lighting some and how it seems to be pretty dull. And we're looking into something that could be done with the existing lights to see if we can get them to kind of focus a little bit better instead of just kind of pointing straight down. The school zone lighting at FA is still not working quite right. Alcina's still been working with the company. Motherboards have been replaced at this point. Were you ever able to get that uploaded? No.
No, still waiting back on the company.
Okay.
For guidance on that.
Basically, we have to upload the entire school schedule in one go so that the lights know when to flash and when to not flash. And for some reason, they're not taking that upload. And then basically we just made sure with Alcina that Public Works crew is ready to go for winter. Sounds like they are. Sounds like plow trucks are ready to go. And that was about it. Yes.
Really a comment, because we used to have 2 free days, a spring and a fall. When did that stop? We always had 1 in May and 1 in October.
That's it, it was always 2. I remember that as well.
What a good decision we made.
Yeah, so,
So it sounds like we're probably gonna look to go back.
yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say, with all that you just said, no wonder we didn't get home till 9:30.
Yeah.
And, but truthfully, when we were talking about streetlights and it was mentioned about West Main, that is my personal experience, but I know we were really talking about the town, not
Yeah.
just West Main Street.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about more than just West Main Street when it came to street lighting.
Joel?
So we've been asking about the streetlights for quite a while. Do you have a time frame on when someone or something's gonna try something?
I think probably at our next meeting, that's gonna be a focus.
Okay.
Try to figure out what we might be able to do, where we need to go to be able to try to get that taken care of. I know it's been brought up multiple times, even in the just since I've been on the committee. So I think now that we're kind of making headway with the transfer station, we can kind of move on and start addressing some of the other issues.
Well, efficiency means sent out a blurb like 3 weeks ago that they had leftover grant money for municipalities for streetlights. So worst case, maybe we should tap into that if we find these aren't really adjustable enough, if it's an option.
I was gonna say, the thing about, there were two things at hand. One is, are they adjustable or are they not? And we need to get to the point of are they, and move from there.
Absolutely.
I had an epiphany while we were having the discussion because I had an experience while I was driving in for the meeting, because it was already dark, where I didn't see somebody. Unfortunately, on Lincoln Street, the lights are on the opposite sidewalk, which is rather unfortunate. But then again, there's a lot of maintenance reasons why we don't want the telephone poles in the sidewalks. But the epiphany I had was, just, why did it take so long for us after the transition to really feel like this lighting was terrible? And I put myself back into the shoes of the way the lighting was before we did it. I was like, oh yeah, it was really horrible before. And so when we switched it over, we're like, wow, this is such an improvement. But then after a while, you start saying, well, I don't know, it's an improvement, but is it the right? And because I mean, my memory of driving up Summer Street to go home was like this, trying to just shade my eyes from all of the sodium arc lights that were just streaming in. So it is an excellent time to reassess, figure out what is going on. We also, as just a reminder, the transition from the CMP lights to our own lights has saved us. We paid for this work several times over. So if we do need to invest some money, if we don't have efficiency main money or whatever, it would seem to be a good time to look at that. Okay. All right. Then we'll go on to promotion and development.
Yes, promotion and development met on the 12th. It was just under 3 hours for that meeting. We had a great presentation from Lisa and Jim from Penquist. They came and described not only services they have for the communities for healthcare, transportation, but also public transport for recreational use, not just shopping, but going to the park or being dropped off somewhere. There's a system that they've had that is still funded right now. But they are working on a planning grant with a lot of communities, trying to really steer into what we do, which is trying to plan for the future and look at how we can orient ourselves to make it more accessible for people to find gainful employment, identify the barriers that people say why they can't go out and work a 40-hour-week job or things of that nature. So we had public engagement, which is awesome. So for anyone that doesn't know, Promotion Development Committee, those are public meetings. You're welcome to come. We do a lot of work, but we love to hear from the community and what you think we can do to help invest in ourselves and make us a great place to live and to bring business and other interests here. Alcina gave us an update on the logo work that she's been working on. So I'm hoping in the new year, we'll have something for the community to look at, for us to choose from, something vibrant and awesome that shares our history and makes us proud to wear it. We don't have an update on the historical signs that we talked about a couple months ago yet, so hopefully we'll get that soon. We are going to ask for a meet and greet with the local snowmobile club because we've met with the ATV club. We haven't heard from them to see kind of what their thoughts and plans are and how we can support them growing that industry here. Bob Aid sent over his packet for his business. He's interested in funding a special referendum to potentially see if the town would be interested in opting in instead of out for cannabis. So we had a really good discussion about really what is our role in that, and our end decision was, well, that's obviously the town to decide, since it was voted on before, it should be voted on again. But more importantly, from our point of view, it brings business and some more tax revenue to the town, then that's a good thing. There are pros and cons to any business, but from our point of view on just Promotion Development Committee, strictly from business standpoint, we thought, well, if it's successful and it helps, then that's a good thing. But that's as far as we went with it. And then we are looking at scheduling our next meeting, probably January, for a time to catch up on everything else and then go from there.
Thank you. And last but not least, protection. Oh,
Can I
I'm
just
sorry.
add to, that's right.
Yeah.
Going back to your Penquist, I know I couldn't tell you if it was last fall or whenever, but a citizen brought together kind of a discussion focused on revitalization of Dover-Foxcroft. And I'm not sure that meeting's ideas were recorded, but, because I attended the Penquist meeting as well as that other one. But it would be worth kind of pulling together to get ideas, that sort of thing. So I'll make that connection for you if needed.
Happy to.
So Protection Committee, we met last Friday, and actually we're trying something a little bit different because our agendas seem to be getting longer and longer, and we have a lot of staff sitting around with a topic that's not necessarily pertinent to them. So we focused last meeting on the PD. So we had discussions on the ATV, gave us their report of last season. Again, actually, there was only one documented complaint regarding the use of East Main Street. And again, wrong information, or whoops, I missed the sign, I think was the gist of it. Businesses had minimal concern regarding ATV, nor did they say that there was an increase in business because of that. So because of that, with the exception of observations made at Butterfields. So we know ATVers love ice cream, apparently.
It does.
So based on that, I think the committee, and again, looking back historically, our hope is that this issue, because protections issues have been outlined and we're hopefully making safe choices for people, that it be shifted over to promotion and development. Meaning, let's look at it as a business and or economic development for Dover-Foxcroft. So add that to your list. We also focused on the recent Halloween haunted ride, which was very, very successful, generated ideas for improvements, as well as ways for other, as I spoke earlier, partnerships to come together to help not only the Dover Rovers, but whether it be food vendors or, a nonprofit who wants to earn some money over that weekend. Apparently there were over 800 to 900 machines participating in that event. Excuse me?
They stopped counting at 800.
Okay, they stopped counting. Not that they couldn't continue, but the line was getting too long. They also are coming back with ideas or suggestions for maybe next year, and they'll be returning back in March. A big piece of our discussion also dealt with animal control. We met the new animal control officer that covers our area. She kind of gave us an update. No 2 days are alike. She may be dealing with roosters one day and a lost dog the other. So we also had a discussion regarding her role regionally, and she has good connections with Enfield and Howland area, animal control officers. Looking again, long-term for Dover to be kind of a 24-hour holding shelter for lost animals for the residents of Dover-Foxcroft. So that has both logistics issues as well as financial issues. So she also stressed the needs of some of the items that she needs. And so hopefully we're going to address that. We talked about residents' questions, and if as a board member they come across and ask us, our best piece of advice is we need to go to either Alcina or directly to the police chief to clarify. A lot of times it's misinformation, and so for the record, we just want to answer folks' questions, but then also give the facts. Another piece that we talked about is the revenue that's generated by the PD and the importance of kind of strategic budgeting, so that if there is a revenue stream, our hope is that whatever stream that is, it be put back into the department's needs. And the chief has identified at least 2 areas. One, obviously animal control, because that's a whole new ballgame that we're doing with Carrie, as well as to look kind of as we're having new officers come aboard, or if there becomes a vacancy, there's a need for preparing for buyouts. And again, that's kind of paying for officers who've already been trained to come to our community. So again, we kind of need that pot of money. And next Friday, we're meeting with the fire department and code for issues that that group has. So we'll let you know how well this works, and it's adding to our workload, but at the same time, it's very efficient for our staff, so.
Sounds excellent. All right. Any questions or comments for that? All right. Well, we certainly have been busy.
We work, yes.
All right. Good. Well, we have nothing under unfinished business, no agenda adjustments, so we'll move on to new business. An A, code enforcement issue. Nan?
I received complaints from a resident about a business that has their vehicles parked at their home on High Street. And I looked into the file and discovered that September 3rd of 2015, there was a planning board decision that the business could operate as they'd applied on their location on Summer Street, and that their business vehicles had to remain at that location except for the owner's personal pickup truck that is marked for the business that could be at his home. The Summer Street location has been sold and all the vehicles have been moved to the High Street location. I sent the owner a certified letter. He immediately came in upon receipt, immediately responded, and said that he'd sold the Summer Street location, so he couldn't park the vehicles there, and wanted to appeal the planning board decision from 2015. 10 years ago, so I really didn't think that was appropriate to go to the appeals board. So I suggested this, the select board meeting. I've sent you folks things, copies of letters and the planning board information, letters that were sent to the homeowner or to the business owner. I've since spoken with the town attorney, who said that the proper way to handle this is probably going to be a brand new application for a business to be located at the High Street location, if that's what he wants to do. A complete site plan, start from scratch, and see if that is approved by the board or if it is not approved by the board. And the business owner is here, sorry, so he can address concerns and questions of his own.
Well, my
I'm sure he wants
question,
to address the board.
my question for you.
Yes.
Because, you know, that's a very residential area.
It is.
And so that would be a big undertaking.
Yes.
I would think, to site all those trucks there.
Yeah.
And so how long would it take to do a new application to the planning board? So if that's our legal advice, then I think we should move in that direction, so.
Probably the earliest it could be before the board would be January. And I, in my letter, asked him to move all his vehicles by November 3rd, and they are still at his business, at his home location. They are not removed. But it would be, because we've got to have everything in, it's got to be put in the paper. It's got to be in there at least 2 weeks in advance of the meeting. Got to notify all the neighbors, all the abutters and a distance around, so that they have the opportunity to come in and voice their opinion.
At the planning board.
At the planning board, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so, right, we do not handle land use at all. And so the planning board is the proper vehicle for all of this.
And I have the application, so I can give it tonight.
May I stand? May I speak?
Sure, yep, go right ahead, just
Good evening.
for the record.
Scott Damaris, owner Aero Tree Service. Been in this town for 21 years. Never have met the police chief or any of his members. I just, I'm a good boy. We have a good family. I recently sold my lot on Summer Street to Nick, CNS Masonry. So yes, all my equipment came to the house. So I'm in a temporary phase of shifting. All the vehicles aren't there anymore. I've since got rid of 3 vehicles. So now I'm down to 2 vehicles only in my driveway. And they say my name, Aero Tree Service. But my son-in-law, Jacob, lives in the house. He drives one and I drive one.
So the prior ruling was I could only have one truck, and I'm just asking for two trucks. I do not conduct business at that location. I own a tree service. I put on my boots in the morning, I get in my truck, and I go to where the tree is. I remove the tree and I come home. Are there any questions? I just want to clarify, but I am in the process of removing everything but two trucks.
Okay.
So again, this is all for the planning board. We don't,
Thank you for your time.
yep. But thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Do you have a question? Okay.
We're not having like a discussion about this, but, so there will be notification and, I know you're in the neighborhood. When the planning board goes to consider his request, whatever his request is, there will be notification in the paper. That would be the appropriate time for you to go and discuss. You also feel free to, you can talk to Nan ahead of there about concerns and ask her questions.
I don't have any concerns. I just want to say that I live across the street and I don't have a complaint. I mean, the man's trying to do a legitimate business.
Yep.
And to me, this is, I don't know where the complaint came from. I got a pretty good idea, but, you know, people that deter a man from operating a business and he, out of his lot, still trying to operate his business from his house. I don't have a complaint with it,
Okay.
but I'll speak
Then-
again at the planning board.
Yeah, you can, that would be an appropriate time for you to go to the planning board, because it's not, what is it? It's not our department. Excellent. Okay. So we don't need to do anything. I think we've done what we need to do, on that one. Anybody thinks we need to do anything else? Right, moving along to liquor license renewal for Moon King.
Move to approve the 2026 liquor license for Moon. Second.
Okay, this is, by the way, thank you for putting it down here that Seth has approved it. That's helpful to have that noted in here. But we always do ask the chief of police if there's anything.
No.
Say,
No issues.
okay,
I checked the state liquor enforcement today and they don't have anything that.
yes, Jane.
Sorry. So is this a new form? It looks new to me.
It's fairly new. Yeah, it's an online system now.
Oh, okay.
So it's a printout. Yeah, it looked, same information, but it looks different.
Different, okay.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move.
Okay, you second it, right? There we go. All right, all in favor? Okay. Moving on to another liquor license removal. This one is for Bears Den.
Move to approve?
Anything, all set on that one? Any other discussion?
Nobody here from the Bears Den?
No. Generally, if they're here, there'd be an issue, but, all in favor?
He's been in the past.
Oh, yeah, Brian's been here very, yeah. All right, now, moving on to the village project, Main Street feasibility study. We have very, very thick report here.
Well, I'll move to accept the village's project, feasibility study so that we can move forward.
I second that.
Any discussions about it? Yes, Tracy?
There are some things in there that I see that I really don't approve of. I don't think would be beneficial. I think it'd be more of a detriment to the town than it would be a help.
Okay.
But I'm not totally against it either.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are just some things in there that concern me.
My suggestion, and Alcina can correct me, probably the best thing to do is to summarize those, because this isn't, you know, the final plan. This is for them to move forward and get the funding for it, right? So there's my understanding is there's still opportunities to incorporate feedback.
Okay.
So I would suggest that you put that together and just give it, Alcina, just give it to you and she'll get it into the.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say, at the beginning of this, which a couple years ago, I guess. But our experience in working with this team of people has been really a lot of back and forth, and they really, did a great job of initiating public input, and we had really active, engagement with them. So I'm sure it will be like that going forward.
Exactly. Yeah, there's.
Like I said, I'm not totally against it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just a couple of things that I don't think are.
Can we get a rough layout? Because there are gonna be stages that's going forward where we can ask to have a discussion about revisions or concerns. So will there be a time we can start posting those meetings and encourage people to come in and have more of that conversation with us?
Yeah.
I mean, because maybe some people, especially whose land is being impacted, they can hear it's great. But then when they finally get closer to the goal line, seeing what's really happening, they may have more reservations or questions that come up as they're seeing the end.
Or the
And I
detailed.
would want them to be able to have an input, not just like, well, I missed my opportunity a year ago. Well, we didn't know what it looked like a year ago. We're kind of getting to that now. So if we can have some advance notice and encourage people to come in, that would be great.
Great.
So I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So we're voting to approve this, to move it into the funding phase, which then opens up for the meetings and discussions to get to what will ultimately be the final product.
If we all, as a board, had major objections to it, or thought that they were off, and well, up I am. This would be our time to just say, regroup, it's fine. But it's not, this is not the plan.
Okay.
It's enough to go forward and they have to get all the funding sources lined up.
Well, let's hope when we get to the plan, we don't have a lot of objections. At that point, we can take care of them before.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Have a vote on this? All in favor? All right.
They were really fortunate to be in the mix.
It's just a lot of money to do this, and we've all seen some of these types of things implemented in towns, and it sure does perk them up quite a bit. Okay, so now we're on to the augmented item E, which is the Dover-Foxcroft Code of Ethics and Code of Conduct.
Like the never ending.
Yeah, the never ending. So what I'm looking for is a motion to set a public hearing about this document. And suggesting that it be on next, that the public hearing be at the next meeting. There's enough time in between now and then to get the notification out. So moved.
Second,
Discussion about that?
the next meeting is December 15th, right?
Yes, middle of December. And for clarity's sake, we will not be voting on it at the hearing either. Because we need time to incorporate whatever feedback comes from that meeting. So we will probably be doing it in either our first or our second meeting in January, my guess. Okay, we've got a first and a second on that. All in favor? Excellent. Okay, Julie can release the notifications. All right, next one, new IT service provider. I have a motion on this.
I'll move to accept the contract with Sierra Communications.
I
Okay.
third it.
Discussion about it?
It's about done.
Yeah.
Well, I would just say, we reviewed a long time ago, we looked at J. Rollins and Sierra and some other options. And I think consistently through that process, and Alcina had, some help from a couple of volunteers in the community to review. So I think they were clearly, the optimal choice, so. Ready to move forward.
All right. All in favor? No? Okay, so now we move on to town manager's report.
I know I sent out a message that didn't have anything, but I have two things. We all had a wonderful taste of winter for the first time. Plow crews were good. Obviously, they had little minor kinks, like a hose blew, that type of thing, to work out but generally overall, everything went well. Just wanted to give an update on that. And then, secondly, we had discussed in our admin meeting, so the front office has been operating on a schedule where we're open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, with Wednesday being a delayed start and a closed at an hour after that we normally do, because normally it's 7:30 to 4:30, almost at 8:30, not that late. And so the ladies out front have been tracking those Wednesdays, the later hours, and what they've discovered are people are at the door at 8:30 waiting to come in because they're thinking it's 7:30. And there hasn't been a customer since September 24th that's come after 4:30. So we're just sitting here for an extra hour. So the suggestion is to go back to just having a straight schedule, a consistent schedule of 7:30 to 4:30. Same days, obviously. And I think that would help a lot, because it seems that more people are either doing their stuff on their lunch break, or they're coming in or wanting to get it done earlier, especially with shorter days and whatnot. We're gonna see that even taper off. I think this is a needed move.
You forgot to mention one other important rule.
Oh, well, then also, well, I don't know if this is gonna be your same thing, but the important thing is, so state offices close at 5 PM. So if you call if say there's like a registration or I don't know, anything involving the state and you needed to call in for like an MSRP or anything like that, you're not getting through them. So even if you had a customer and you were trying to help them, you wouldn't be able to get through to anybody to help assist them. So they would have to come back the next day or whenever they would be available.
That wasn't the one I was thinking.
Okay.
That was good. The other one about tracking. So they've tracked very few people that have come in that extra hour. But when they show up when staff comes in the morning, there's people piled up waiting. So we're having exactly the opposite. There's people waiting to get in, and there's nobody taking advantage of the hour at the end of the afternoon.
And also the staff, they stagger lunchtime, so our office doesn't close from noon until 1. It's open during all of those hours, so that too is important.
Yeah.
I think.
So since this doesn't seem to be a big issue, since no one's coming after 4:30, I'm anticipating to start this December 1st or 3rd. Day to read, say, yeah, the first of December.
First is the.
Yep, I'll put notice out tomorrow, social media, website, all that kind of stuff, and posting on the doors. I don't think there's gonna be any substantial issue we haven't had anybody since the end of September really utilizing that last hour.
So just a couple of things. I completely hear what you're saying. But my first bit is hopefully no one's sitting here for that extra hour in the afternoon, not doing anything.
No.
Because there's always work to do, even though there may not be any customers. But my other bit was just the consistency, I think makes sense, but also with the dump, I'm not saying any dump hour change, just the dump is the same time every day, right? It used to open later in the summer and then doesn't. Is it?
Yeah, it's across.
Every day is the same, it doesn't change.
Yep, I know,
So-
yeah, I remember there was one, I think it was Wednesdays, they were open later. or something.
I think that went away. a
Yeah,
year or two
that went
ago,
away
and
and
I
the
think
office
that-
hours didn't. I think that they were synced up and then one changed and the other didn't.
Yeah.
And I just question the December 1st, because sometimes when we jump on the bandwagon a bit quick and we make decisions and we move forward, we think everybody's well informed, but then we find out maybe not, so should it maybe be January 1st to give you 6 weeks to inform the public? I'm just saying we've got into trouble before making changes and it comes back to bite us.
Up to you. I mean, we
I
haven't had
sent, if
anybody.
you sent an email to those that have showed up after 4:30, not too many. So I have no problem starting December 1st.
If we were making if there was a trickle of people even coming in and we're like, hey, it's not really worth it, then there would seem to be more need to get the word out. But since there's crickets in there, I think that we're fine.
One of the things too, it was kind of for a safety issue as well. Cause especially in the winter time, when it gets pitch black by like 4:30, 4:45, that's usually about when the snow starts. So that was usually about the worst time of the day when the snow would start and then we're out like scraping, because we're leaving 6 trying to scrape all 8 inches of the snow off our cars.
There was no discernible reason to be here that way.
Yeah.
So we're approving the change. We don't have to vote.
It's an admin change, but we're all informed and there seems to be no objections, so go for it.
We just advertise it,
Tomorrow, advertise, everything will be up.
Okay. All right. We have correspondence, open session, closing remarks. Hang on one sec.
Okay.
So,
I missed open session earlier, so I was at the commissioner budget meeting. Just an update. I'm Amanda Stewart with the Piscataqua Area Community Center. Right now, we've got a Thanksgiving raffle going on. We had a donation at the Thanksgiving dinner, so go to Edwards Brothers and you can buy raffle tickets down there, or you can get them at the pack. Right after that, we're going to do the same one that we did last year with the calendar raffle to bring in some money. So local people have been donating all kinds of really cool things for that calendar. Buy a ticket, your name can go in for all days. Even if you win, your name goes back in the drawing, so you can have multiple times. We've had quite a few people sign up for our Pack the Halls that we talked about at the last meeting. We've got a bunch of registration forms coming in. So our anticipation is on December 12th, we'll put out a list of addresses so that the community can kind of go drive around and look at all the holiday lights that have been put up. Kind of a fun thing. December 23rd, we'll do the drawing for that. And so we're having Santa and all the things at the pack for the community. Great. The pool is coming along really nicely. Actually, our epoxy came in. Yes, I know, right? The walls are completely sealed now, and we're gonna work on the floors this week. I don't know if anybody's driven by, but we have been working on the vinyl siding over there, and it is like heartwarming to drive by that place and see like the beauty that it deserves. It looks so good, and we're so grateful. So that's coming really nice. But as soon as that's done, we've got 8 more kits of paint that they have got on back order, and we can't start painting until we have all of it. It's a crazy logistics if anybody wants to get involved in that process. We have to like mix paint while we're painting, and it's crazy, but it's coming and it's very exciting. So finally. And then I just talked with the fire chief a couple days ago. He came over to look at some things on the outside of our building that are pretty obsolete. I'm like, can you please rip these off while we're getting rid of all the weird stuff? On Healthy Kids Day, which is also the Kiwanis Bike Rodeo, the first weekend in May, we're going to do a ladder golf ball drop. So the trucks are there for Touch a Truck anyway. It's a fundraiser. We're going to split it between the fire department and the pack. People buy golf balls with a number on it, and then from the top of the ladder truck, they drop the golf balls, and there's a hole in the ground, and whoever's golf ball gets in it or closest gets to win the prize. So,
Or the closest, I heard that.
yeah. So it's gonna be really fun. So that's coming up, and I really like partnering with our local service people. It's awesome, and Brian is wonderful, and he's not here for me to praise tonight, so.
So does the owner of the golf ball have to climb up the ladder?
They should, but no.
Oh, no.
They shouldn't, except no way.
They'll like dump a whole bucket right from the top of the ladder, and it'll just happen. But I think he got jealous of our success with hanging out with the police department, so now the fire department wants to come play.
Excellent. Thank you very much for all that you do and your update.
Absolutely, thanks guys.
Nancy.
I just was wondering if we've heard anything from MDOT about the polls that we've been waiting for.
Oh, for the intersection?
Yeah.
Nothing. The last I heard was, January.
January.
That's the update.
Oh,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, yeah.
I know at our last low vision meeting that, our mobility instructor called the accessibility person who works for them. and,
Okay.
Oh, we're waiting for stuff, is all she could tell us.
Yeah, that's, from my
More
understanding.
pressure, the better.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, yeah, we have more friends, cause, I can pester them all to death and, yeah, I get told, you know, well, we're backward, which is the common
Yeah.
consensus is that back to back.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
It did look like somebody was working there Sunday. Was it somebody else, cable or something? There was a bucket truck there and.
Don't get your hopes up.
They were trying to figure out the flash.
Yeah, it might be,
I
Okay.
think that would make
Yeah.
it, which they still haven't figured out.
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna close the closing the closing remarks. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
To go into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title I, 4056A regarding personnel.
Second?
Okay. Discussion, all in favor? Okay, all right, thank you all.
Yes.
John, were you here when I walked in?
I just don't, well, I may know you are.
No.
Okay.